Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/get-started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get-started.
How could you have not seen Sherlock?
I wasn't into it at the time, and now it's like done.
Yeah, Citizen Kane is done too. I feel like you should still check it out, though. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. Part of it's watching, getting the experience of watching it with everybody else, though.
How? I mean, would you go looking for spoilers on Facebook? Is that
Moriarty in the first season, though? What?
Do you know he auditioned with that character?
Really?
Oh, hey, Eli.
Hey, hi, best friend. Yeah,
Didn't know you were invited.
Yeah, like they were auditioning a bunch of old guys, and Moffat was just like, "Oh my god, like we got to make the whole show about this dude." Like that was just his creation on the first audition. Last season was crap. Though.
I'm sorry, Eli. What are you holding?
Oh, it's a suitcase nude. But see, that's Moffat's problem. He creates great
what?
shows and characters, but he can't maintain an arc.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, no, I know. Hear me out. Look, Hyde, Doctor Who, Sherlock, great characters, great setups.
Okay.
He's a great writer,
No.
short term.
No. The suitcase nuke is what I'm asking about.
Oh, yeah. Today's episode is on the Cold War, so I was going to do my wacky antics thing, but then I got sucked into this conversation, so I feel like I'll just return it to Iran because the moment feels kind of gone.
Yeah, you should do that. Do that.
Check out Sherlock, though, Tom. Seriously. Super worth it. Season 2, some of the best television, period.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Hey, Ahmed, it's Eli. Buddy, don't need it. Yeah, I'm disappointed, too. Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts because this is the internet, and that's how it works now. I'm Eli Bosnick, and I'll be captaining this vessel, but I can't do it without my trusty crew. First up, two men whose fiery rage could power several nuclear vessels, Cecil and Noah.
I'm looking forward to a time when my rage is all the rage.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a pedant, but wouldn't those vessels be rage vessels at this point if we were powered? I'm saying I don't get the intro, Eli.
And also joining us tonight, two of the most pool-emptying cannonballers you've ever done seen, Heath and Tom.
The trick is just to turn a little sideways, more surface area.
Absolutely. I like a jackknife, too. Point being, if any Israelis are getting chased by Egyptians, and we know you're out there, just give us a call. We got you covered.
Now, before we begin our show tonight, I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons. They take as little as $1 a show and make sure we get to do what we love for a living. And for that, we're eternally grateful. And surprised, mostly surprised, if I'm being honest, but also grateful. If you'd like to learn how to join their ranks, be sure to stick around till the end of the show, unless you just heard an air raid siren go off, in which case, quick, bequeath us all your worldly goods at patreon.com/citationpod. And with that out of the way, tell us, Cecil, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
Well, today we're going to be talking about U.S. government programs during the Cold War.
Ooh, and Heath, you read about these programs. Are you ready to be the radar on this submarine?
Yeah. So I did some serious research, by which I mean I skimmed a listicle. So instead of a single topic, we have 10 topics this week. Ooh, 10. 10 topics, guys. 10.
Ooh, if you think about it, it's better.
Right? So we're going to be talking about 10 of my favorite examples of ridiculous things we did during the Cold War. And by favorite and ridiculous, I mean some combination of silly, stupid, horrible, tragic, and or hilarious. which could honestly be the name of the show we're doing.
That's too late.
So let me start over. Hello and welcome to Silly, Stupid, Horrible, Tragic, and/or Hilarious, the podcast about those things. And today's episode is about crazy shit we did during the Cold War.
So obviously we all know everything. We all already know. But what was the Cold War? Just in case anybody doesn't know. Sweden. We fought Sweden.
I hate your entire generation. I hate all of your generation. So that was the posturing war between the U.S. and the Soviet Union that created, sadly, the guys who decided our election last year. I'm pretty sure.
Allegedly.
It's also the motivation behind the U.S. creating magical bombs, also Russia, in defiance of God that could end the world about 2,000 times over. And yeah, Russia did something similar, except with absolutely no security procedures in place. So now pretty much anyone with a library card can check out a nuclear weapon and take it wherever they want. Honor system on bringing it back. It's great. Good times.
Librarians give you the stink eye when you drop a fucking book. Can you imagine how pissed they'd be if a nuke went off in the library? Jesus.
I imagine that every time I return a book, fucking librarians. Always so judgy.
But so sexy.
And this is why I always fart in the library, to prepare them for the future annihilation.
All right, so anyway, the paranoia that went along with the Cold War led our government to come up with some asinine ideas. And that's what we're going to talk about.
Wait. Wasn't creating the magical kill the world bombs the first asinine idea?
Fair.
Okay, to clarify, this is asinine ideas for the U.S. government. These are for us.
Yes, absolutely. And just a quick thing before we get started with the top 10. We're not going to be talking about the MK Ultra program, even though that's an obvious example for the topic. In case anyone's not familiar, MK Ultra was the mind control program run by the CIA. Apparently, they spent about 20 years giving people acid and being like, nope, still doesn't help win any wars. But MK Ultra deserves its own episode, so we're going to skip it for today. We're going to do 10 different ones.
Today I learned Noah has been trying to win wars.
And I would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for those meddling DEA agents.
So tell us, Heath, what was the first program?
All right, we're going to start at the very beginning of the Cold War, which is right around the end of World War II, with a program called Operation Paperclip.
It's just a team of scientists building an annoying Microsoft Word assistant. Like, it looks like you're trying to write attack codes. Can I help?
Yeah. And Operation Paperclip, also known as Operation Nazis Are Bad, However, is it's an interesting one. And the however was followed by Evil Science is Super Cool. So, so here's what happened.
This is Twitter. They created Twitter.
Yeah, so following the war, the Soviet Union emerged as the other major world power, and in order to get an edge, we started secretly enlisting Nazi scientists.
And, I hate to say it, but I would take that now if it meant we could get some fucking scientists in the government, right? I mean, I'm not saying he'd be better at running the USDA, but Joseph Mengele is definitely more qualified than Sam Clovis.
You look terrible. You should, not eat as much food. I'm literally the guy who drowned people with too much water, and you're gross. You're weirding me out, Sam Clovis.
Yeah, so Operation Paperclip, that was a creepy plan. But unfortunately for us, the Russians actually thought of that first, and they'd already started Operation Osovyachim, which somehow got them about 2,000 Nazi scientists in one night.
Wow.
Just lots of super hot Russian lady spies, I'm assuming pissing on Nazi nerds all day. I don't know how else you would do that.
The meaning of Nazi gold finally revealed.
Yeah, so the U.S. managed to eventually get a bunch too.
But how many of them were there? They got 2,000 already taken.
That was pretty much all they did was evil science. Yeah, so more than 2,000 is the number we know. So yeah, the U.S. eventually got some too, but a little bit more weird pee-pee stuff, and we could have ended World War II before it really got going. I feel like we didn't focus at the time. Moral of the story, genocide isn't rocket science, but they're related, so point being, always keep your CV up to date is the key.
Mm-hmm. Which is why it's so important you endorse people on LinkedIn, Tom.
Hey, I didn't see an option to endorse you for bragged about killing himself, but still here. So, whatever.
wanted to, but he said I couldn't, that everyone would come with me, and I don't want anyone to come with me. Want to go to Buddhist heaven by myself.
Okay. Moving on. You're not invited. Okay. Next up, we have Operation Pro-Funk, or what I like to call the Maple Scare. So, you guys remember the whole Japanese internment thing?
No, I'm not really that old. It's just a joke that Eli makes.
It's a thing. This is real bad. World War II, Japanese people. Well, coming on the heels of all that success, we decided to roll with that idea, apparently. But now that the Japanese had been told twice, this was 1946, we didn't have to worry about them so much anymore. So apparently we started brainstorming about what group of people were the most likely to be a threat to national security at that point. And somehow we landed on Canadian people.
A suspicion I share. What are you, Tim Hortons? A donut shop? A breakfast place? Make up your mind!
No. Eli, how is a donut shop not a breakfast place?
I'm not taking any follow-up questions.
So what happened was we put together a blacklist of about 66,000 Canadians.
There's not that many black Canadians. Come on.
It's true, but then they switched to a black face list.
Oh.
Much easier.
Yeah, you fill that up pretty easy.
I'm cracker!
Okay. Once again, moving on. We set up plans for a mobilization day on those 66,000 Canadians, on which we were going to round them all up at once and put them in a series of internment camps that we had throughout Canada somehow, which they very politely let us build all over the country, I'm assuming. Fortunately, that mobilization day never happened because, well, the entire plan was stupid, but we came close. And Canada, for their part, did apologize for the mix-up. So that was nice of them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you betcha. We didn't do nothing, but we could have done something. So, I guess we're just going to have to say we're sorry there, eh? Why don't you boys go ahead and take a moose for your troubles on the way out, huh?
Moving on, at number 8, we're gonna do it countdown style.
Starting at 8 now with 10 and 9, those didn't count.
I hadn't announced countdown. Now it's a countdown. It all makes sense.
Number B.
Contextually. Number 8. Number VIII. We have an incident called the Green Run. So the first working nuclear reactor to produce plutonium in the United States was at a place called the Hanford site in Washington State. And as the Cold War nuke race started heating up, we decided we needed more information about how well the Soviets were doing with their nuclear program. So in 1949, we took a big pile of spent fuel that we intentionally didn't let decay or cool enough and used it to release a giant cloud of radioactive gas over a populated area right near the reactor site.
Oh, they should have put a huge blanket over the area and Dutch ovened all those people,
Yeah, see, so that's called the ozone layer, and we're working on fixing that.
Some of us harder than others.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you might have some questions about this. For example, why comes to mind as our question. Well, apparently the plan was to have the Air Force track the cloud so we could observe the patterns of the spreading cloud and have U.S. recon use that information to identify plutonium reactors in the Soviet Union.
What? Isn't this like beating toddlers with aluminum bats so you can complete your blood splatter analysis? Isn't that?
Jesus.
That was a joke, Eli, not an idea.
It could be both.
Yeah.
Man, I'd really hate it if the Soviets bombed us. Let's just go ahead and nuke ourselves. That'll show them stupid Ruskies.
And one of the other questions you might have, what about using a not populated area for the exact same thing that would work the same way?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, answer, you're a Canadian spy. Shut up. But I'd suggest the biggest question would be, isn't that stupid considering we just gave the Soviet recon team the exact type of information we were hoping to gain from the whole thing in the first place? And the answer would be yes. This was both horrible and tragically stupid.
Okay, but plus side, my wife is from Washington State, and that extra toe is magical.
When girls from Washington State flip you off, they have to use their whole hand.
When they jerk you off, they have to use the whole flipper.
Yeah.
Well, they don't always need to use the whole flipper for everybody, Tom, but that's okay too. That doesn't make you less of a man.
I like a soft touch with the flipper, just like a little French tickler with the flipper. Yeah.
Tweet at us. Would you
Just a
fuck a manatee
little bit.
if the manatee was into it? Like a fully sentient manatee that can consent. Would you fuck it? At Heath Henry.
At Eli Bosnick, yes. Okay, next up, at number 7, we have United States Air Force Project 1794. And there's really no way of dressing this up. It was Project Flying Saucer. We literally tried to build an actual flying saucer, like a super fast spinny one with pew laser beams like the aliens have. Literally, we tried to do this, and we spent millions of dollars making it. Didn't work.
I just really hope the plans had the words pew in them. I have the schematics for that flying saucer, Colonel.
Let's take a look. Oh my God, Johnson. You spelled pew wrong.
No, I didn't, sir. The X is silent.
So, according to an Air Force document from 1956, they wanted to build a vertical takeoff attack vehicle that would reach altitudes of 100,000 feet and travel at Mach 4 speed.
56.
I don't know how that would be useful if nobody else had anything flying at 100,000 feet, but most importantly, it had to be saucer shaped because, round stuff is cool.
It is.
And as you might have already guessed, it did not work out. The final prototype started wobbling uncontrollably when it got about 3 feet off the ground. And it maxed out around 35 miles an hour. That's less than Mach 4, just for the record. But worst of all, even if it was able to actually fly, it is just a circle plane. Not sure that's especially helpful. We had planes.
They wanted it to go 100,000 feet in Mach 4, and they got that. That's like trying to make a deal with the Pawn Stars guy, right? It's like, I have this diamond Super Bowl ring. I'll give you 3 nickels and a small handful of belly land. It's the best I can do. It's the best I can do for you. I'm sorry.
I love the idea of an Air Force pilot, like in an emergency, just running in circles around the thing, like trying to find the door. Like, someone's yelling, like, it's in the front. He's like, fuck, the whole thing is the front, you asshole. It's a fucking circle.
See, I just want to point out that it's negativity like Tom's and Heath's that keeps the circle plane out of every driveway. Who the fuck wouldn't want a 35-mile-per-hour wobbly flying saucer that was scared of heights? That'd be fucking awesome. I'd go everywhere in that thing.
Scared of heights.
You got weird priorities, boss.
Awesome.
Weird priorities.
All right, next up at number 6, we have Project Sunshine. And this one actually had some reasonable intentions. So after seeing the effects of the atomic bomb, scientists decided to figure out just how dangerous nuclear fallout might be in a large-scale nuclear war, meaning in places that are important, like not Japan. And they concluded that the radioactive isotope strontium-90 was the biggest threat to human health in terms of nuclear fallout chemicals. So Project Sunshine aimed to study strontium-90 using dead babies.
John Benet Ramsey.
Wait, okay. What are they going to use the dead babies for? Tether balls?
John Benet.
Will you stop already?
Will you love me with an open heart and mind the way I love you? John Benet Ramsey.
Okay, so I ended that explanation with dead babies. I feel like I should explain a little bit more.
Not needed, Heath.
No,
Not needed.
strong disagree. Keep going.
All right, well, just to be clear, the explanation's really not going to make it any better. So in order to study how much strontium-90 was already getting spread around, they needed to examine the tissues and bones of dead people, and especially dead young people, because younger bones were the most useful samples.
I get it.
Well, this led to the following statement from Dr. William Libby of the Atomic Energy Commission. Quote, "I don't know how to get them, but I do say that it's a matter of prime importance to get them, and particularly in the young age group. So if anybody knows how to do a good job of body snatching, they will be really serving their country." End quote. We really need baby corpses, no questions asked, be a patriot. That really happens.
This is just a guy with a basement full of dead babies, just like, oh, fuck. Well, I got to get more than one use out of these things somehow.
Jesus Jesus.
Okay, so while I recover from the news that Tom and I are patriots, we'll take a quick break for everyone's favorite use of the interstitial music, apropos of nothing.
Here you go.
Wow, thanks, Fred. I gotta say, you're really chipping in on Project Sunshine.
Yeah, I do what I can.
Like, really, like far and away, you've brought us the most.
Hey, I appreciate it, man, but I'm just doing my duty.
Yeah, so, just a quick question here.
Sure, Jay. What's up?
So, nobody you brought us, none of them have any underwear on. Some of them have clothes, but none of them have any underwear.
Huh. That's weird.
Yeah, isn't it? It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah. All right. See you next week.
Yeah. See ya.
Dude, did you ask him? What did he say?
I don't know. I just froze. I kind of freaked out. I couldn't go through with it.
And we're back. When we left off, the U.S. government was soliciting dead babies, an offer I learned during the break that does not stand. Heath, what's next?
Thanks. Great segue. Speaking of soliciting dead babies, we have number 5, Operation LAC, or Large Area Coverage. This was a project by the U.S. Army Chemical Corps to study the potential for a chemical or biological attack using airborne agents like dust or aerosol. And they conducted the testing by flying over major U.S. population centers and dropping huge amounts of zinc cadmium sulfide, which is easy to track. And allegedly, this stuff isn't toxic at the levels that were dropped and dispersed, but I'm guessing it's not better to breathe than regular air. It feels like that's worse than air, at least.
I don't know. I've paid good money to be sprayed with things a hell of a lot less pleasant than zinc cadmium sulfide.
Little did they know they were actually spraying us with MSG and vaccine allergies.
Yeah. So even if we assume the chemical was safe, the way they conducted the experiment, particularly in St. Louis 2 different times, was pretty horrible either way. Apparently they put really big fans full of the chemical on top of low-income housing projects and just sprayed the entire neighborhood with it.
Jesus Christ.
They also put fans on top of schools in these areas.
What?
And also drove around with vans blowing dust out of the back on everyone.
Cheech and Chong, the early years.
And when they were asked, hey, any chance you can do this in a white neighborhood next time? The military responded, it's not about race. This area just happens to be laid out exactly like a Russian city we might want to attack with biological weapons. Planning a war crime is our excuse for that.
Oh, okay. As long as it wasn't racist.
And then they said it as they drove away in a swamp boat, dumping the big bag of this shit right into the fan,
And also, by the way, the chemical might actually not have been safe. Or at least something might have been added. The abnormally high rates of cancer in that area of St. Louis led a professor to investigate, and his findings apparently suggested that radioactive particles might have been mixed in. I mean, that's just one study, and I actually couldn't find a reference for it, but still, it's a dick move with just chalk that would be ridiculous. Whatever dust you blow all over a neighborhood probably isn't fun. Unless it's free drugs, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
It's never free drugs. Yeah. I know, because whenever they walk around spraying stuff, I walk behind huffing it long enough to make sure, and it is never. It's usually just something for mosquitoes.
All right, next up at number 4, we have the plutonium experiment. And that's just the name I'm using for about 3 decades of secretly giving people radioactive stuff and fucking seeing what happens. It's also the name that journalist Eileen Wellsome used for her series of reports that exposed this project and eventually won her a Pulitzer Prize.
Sure seems to be a real connection between plutonium, ladies, and prizes. You decide.
All right, so here's just a few examples of stuff we did that Ms. Wellsome found in military documents during her investigation. And as far as I can tell, none of the test subjects gave any kind of informed consent. So this includes hundreds of pregnant women being given so-called vitamin drinks to see if we could create like little Dr. Manhattan fetuses. Also includes patients at a Chicago hospital who were just straight up injected with plutonium. One guy actually set a record for most plutonium ever in a person ever measured.
Yeah, he uranium-238 too much, right? 230. I'll just see myself out. That's fine.
How dare you? Shit tits. Right on the tits. A big wet shit right on the tits. How dare you?
And finally, in possibly the most evil thing you can do. You ready for the most evil sentence ever assembled? Disabled kids were spoon-fed radioactive oatmeal after being told they were the new members of a science club.
Kind of were. That's not totally inaccurate.
Yeah, at least they didn't lie to him. They could have also lied to him. It's the dark secret behind the Fantastic Four. Started out as the unexceptional 83.
I have a question about the journalists. Like, why weren't these classified documents? Like, where did the journalists find? Like, nobody thought to get that big red classified stamp and put it on all this evil shit.
I think back then that's how little of a shit we gave about disabled kids. They're like, well, at least they're getting oatmeal.
All right, next up at number 3, we have the Strategic Defense Initiative, also known as Star Wars. So in 1983, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union had enormous nuclear arsenals, and we had a B actor as president here in the United States, who I'd happily take as president right now, honestly, as a corpse. Yeah. That would be fucking great.
Yeah. We got that towards the end. Google Ronald Reagan's signature. Just Google Ron. It's really great.
Yeah, so Ronald Reagan, the B actor, announced that he wanted to make nuclear weapons obsolete, which is a great idea, conceptually. And he wanted to do that by building giant laser beams in space that would shoot down the nuclear weapons, which is not a great idea. Well, like, what do people think lasers are?
Yeah.
It's never reasonable.
Eli, what do people think lasers are?
I want to say hot crystals in the air.
That's more accurate than Reagan thought. So, yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, so between 1983 and 1993, we spent billions of dollars trying to create whatever the fuck Reagan was picturing. Space lasers.
Amazing.
Then in 1987, some scientists got frustrated with the ridiculous plan, and they conducted an investigation into just how feasible the Star Wars idea was. Seems like the type of thing you'd do before launching the multi-billion-dollar project. Whatever.
For 10 years.
Hindsight 2020.
10 years.
Well, these guys concluded that it would take about 10 more years of research just to determine if the general idea was even theoretically possible. Not to like build anything. 10 years of just like, is it or is it not even possible? In fairness, we've since realized that hitting a missile with a physical object is probably a better move, and some amount of progress has been made. But the space laser was a no-go. Did not happen.
Yeah. Everyone knows you have to put the laser on a boat. That's right. Boat lasers are real. Google it. We got boat lasers now, people.
All right. Next up, we have number 2. And this might be my all-time favorite. We have Operation Acoustic Kitty. Real name. And yes, it's just like it sounds. It's just like it sounds. The CIA literally made a spy cat. Yep.
Because they needed a mascot?
How many wooden boxes could this thing eat?
Well, if you put it in a wooden box and then you put in a little vial of uranium, never mind. That's a different episode.
But seriously, they did this spy cat. At some point in the 1960s, they surgically implanted a listening device into a cat's ear canal. This is a 60s listening device, so like like bigger than a cat inside a cat's ear canal.
It's like a reel-to-reel tape recorder.
Yeah,
The cat has an automobile on its head.
It's must have been absolutely ridiculous. But they put a listening device into a cat's ear, and a transmission antenna into its tail.
Satellite dish sticking out of it.
And then they were
inconspicuous, Jim.
It doesn't. No, it's not radio, Tom. It's a wired connection on the cat.
Walk behind it, control it like a. Somebody plug the cat in.
It's like one of those shitty remote control cars that can only go backwards or forward and turn. It's just like
they saw it. They're pulling it back.
Press the meow button, it'll trick them. Meow.
See, I'm just picturing someone extending the tail like you used to do with the car antenna. And it's like, all right, 7-foot cattail. Great, let's get it going.
Why did they pick a cat? That's the best. This is a dog would have given it more room. Why did they pick a small animal?
You should have picked a horse.
Right? That's just like a CIA spy rhinoceros.
It's a stray horse. Huh? That's weird.
It's just got "talk to me" painted on the side.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so this really fucking happened. They made a spy cat with a radio inside, and they released the cat near the Soviet embassy in Washington, D.C. I don't know what they were picturing. I guess they were hoping it would just walk over to the Russian spies on the bench outside the building and get some secret intel. They thought the guys were just going to be like, oh, hello, cat. Want to know a list of spies we have inside the CIA? I'll read them to you now. It'll be relaxing for me. Here's the list.
To be fair, if someone had done that to my dog, they would now know my deepest, darkest secrets. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, anybody who's listened to a podcast with you on it knows those too.
That's true. No shit, right? Eli's pug was actually born a Great Dane. It's just been crushed and mashed under the weight of Eli's oppressive emotional confessions.
That makes two of us.
And by the way, the cat never even recorded a single word of Russian because, well, it's a fucking cat.
Yeah.
And they don't just walk wherever you want. You can't just release a cat and it'll walk next to the Russian spies.
Yeah, right. You're a Russian cat now. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to spritz the Russians with tuna water first.
What actually happened was, at least according to former CIA officer Victor Marchetti, they released the acoustic kitty and it immediately walked into the street and got killed by a taxi.
Which, by the way, is exactly how my gritty reboot of Air Bud ends. Call me Universal. I'll fuck Harvey. I'll do what I got to do.
Harvey's actually why Air Bud committed suicide, though.
Well, don't give away the ending.
Allegedly, that suicide note was not clear.
No rule that says a cat can't be a spy in the CIA. It's true. And finally, at number 1, we have possibly the dumbest thing I've ever participated in. And that list includes the 2016 election, just for the record. Of course, I'm talking about the national safety procedure for avoiding injury during a nuclear attack during the Cold War. Apparently, the government did some research, and they realized that nuclear explosions cannot hurt you if you're under a school desk. And it's not just the desk. You also have to block with your arms.
Right. Yes, exactly.
That's true, right?
Desk plus arms. And we had to practice this with duck and cover drills. Most of you guys probably remember this. To block the nukes with a wooden desk and arms, just to be clear.
Okay, well, I was born in 1987, so I didn't get to experience this. But if I had, baby Eli just jumping arms wide towards the window, I want to be free.
Yeah, but they still teach these drills. They just call them active shooter drills now.
Right.
So
Just as effective now.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Hunters need nuclear weapons sometimes. You have to have every weapon. You
What
need
if
to
a
blow
bear
up.
comes to the school?
You don't know.
Yeah, right?
Just one final detail on the story, just for contrast. Unlike the United States, the country of Switzerland dealt with the fears of a nuclear attack way differently. Instead of all the stuff we mentioned above, they did the most European thing ever and just built underground shelters with enough space for every single Swiss citizen.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my God.
And I'm guessing Canada started doing the exact same thing last November.
Yeah. They started using those internment camps we built up there like 60 years ago. And
these will come in handy, you betcha. Hey, it helps to have 9 fucking citizens and live in a country everyone would just forget to bomb.
Yeah. All right, Heath. Well, if you had to summarize what you learned in one sentence, what would it be?
We should all probably stay in Australia next month instead of flying back. Yeah. This is how we deal with Russian competition.
Okay, Heath, are you ready for the quiz?
I am ready.
All right. Some people say the Cold War was a tremendous success in that it actually avoided a nuclear holocaust, but I think we lost some of the upsides to a holocaust. Which of the below would be the best side effect of a nuclear annihilation? A, we'll finally find out who really rules Bartertown.
Yeah.
Good question. B, we'd get the roving bands of mutants we've always wanted.
Oh, that's good.
C, snuggling under blankets will be possible all year during the nuclear winter. Or D, oh my God, this might happen. Won't someone stop us from making America great again?
All right. Well, I feel like you want me to say D, but I love a good blanket snuggle. Oh, like a new.
Yeah, it is nice.
Like a new sweatshirt that hasn't been washed yet. It's just like, I'm going to go see new blanket. Snuggling under blankets, nuclear winter.
That's right. Yeah, sure. Whatever.
Yes. Tried to trick me.
You're so good at this. All right. Which modern day classified method of studying the effects of deadly radiation will be most appalling to our grandchildren when they do their citation needed? A, the Betsy DeVos-led Department of Education. Would it be B, whatever it is they did to Thomas, a baby that made his flatulence visible?
I consider that a great benefit. Thank you.
Well, it is. I'm not saying it's not. It's nice to know from a distance. Yeah, exactly. But still pretty weird. C, Popeye's chicken.
Yeah.
Or D, coaxing North Korea into a nuclear war and then just sciencing when that's over.
All right. Well, I feel like I'm not having any grandchildren. If I did, the world, it's got to be D. The world's not going to be here. It's nuclear war.
That's right. It was a trick question. There will be no grandchildren after the
no grandchildren.
So Heath, you only mentioned 10 failed Cold War programs. Which one did you leave out? A, Operation Goldfinger, where our spies wouldn't wash before they shook a Russian oligarch's hands.
Stink paw.
B, Can't Keep My Eyes Off of Jew, when we tried to replicate the ancient art of the Jewish evil eye and wound up with a huge pile of eyes.
Yeah. That's the power we have. We only break it up every so often, but I've got one.
C, Project Octomom, when medical establishment tried to turn a human into a big top. Or D, Operation No Fucks, when the world collectively agreed to stop Harvey Weinstein from raping it.
Ouch.
One?
Jesus.
Hey.
I feel like all of them are anti-Semitic. Which one's not anti-Semitic? I pick whichever one's not it. C. C's not anti. I don't see anything about.
It's one of those.
Right.
Project Octomom.
It's Octomom. Yeah.
All right. Well, just like real life, Heath is way smarter than everybody, and we record it on a weekly basis. But also like real life, this is all scripted. So tell us, who is doing next week's essay according to a pattern we established long, long ago?
I am going to choose Noah for next week.
Randomly.
Randomly.
Did that.
Bop, boop. Noah.
All right, let's toss it over to Sarah for last week's Twitter answer and this week's Twitter question.
Thanks, Eli. Last week's question was, which citation needed host would you eat as a baby and why? The answer was from @SonOfSamHain on Twitter. Answer? Noah. Because you get your doctor recommended lifetime dose of tobacco, narcotics, and angst all in one time release capsule. Thanks to everyone for submitting answers. This week's question is, if Citation Needed were a Cold War project, what would its code name be? For the next few weeks, we won't be announcing a winner because the Citation Needed crew is going to be traveling for their first live show in Australia. but we will still have questions each week. Back to you, Eli.
All right. Well, for Heath, Noah, Tom, and Cecil, I'm Eli. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, Noah will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, if you'd like to laugh until you cry, check out me, Heath, and Noah on God-Awful Movies, The Scathing Atheist, and The Skeptocrat. Or if you'd like a more somber and balanced take on current events, check out Tom and Cecil over on Cognitive Dissonance. And if you'd like to help keep the show going, you can make a per-episode donation of as little as $1 an episode at patreon.com/citationpod. Or leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes. Be sure to check out citationpod.com. And remember, if you take aspirin all the time, it stops working. Ahmed, don't do this. Hey, man. Okay, well, I'll UPS it to you. Okay, well then how should I return it? There is no need to there is no need to shout. We will figure this out. Okay? Okay. I'm upset too. I have the schematic. I have the schematics. I have the schematics for that flying saucer, Connor. Oh! This is what happens when you pronounce words as you see them.
Did he say colonel?
He did. He said colonel.
Colonel.
He's a colonial. Yeah.
All right. I have the schematics for that flying saucer, Colonel.
Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/get started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get started.
Beautiful Anonymous changes each week. It defies genres and expectations. For example, our most recent episode, I talked to a woman who survived a murder attempt by her own son. But just the week before that, we just talked the whole time about Star Trek. We've had other recent episodes about sexting in languages that are not your first language, or what it's like to get weight loss surgery. It's unpredictable, it's real, it's honest, it's raw. Get Beautiful Anonymous wherever you listen to podcasts.